Hello, hello, hello. Jordan Charity live. Status Coup. Joined by the legendary Steve Grumbine of the Real Progressives. Steve, how you doing today?
I'm hanging in there, brother. How are you?
Same. My allergies are acting up big time. Can barely breathe, but could be worse. Could be worse. Uh, Big day in the news, and the number one issue, according to the polls, inflation. Apparently, the Washington Post is drinking the Kool-Aid or pushing the Kool-Aid that the way to beat inflation is to lay off millions of people. So we're going to start with that today. And Larry Summers is also acting up. He's like, kind of that case of herpes that won't go away. Larry Summers, he doesn't understand why we should tax oil companies. So we'll get to that. We also have Biden has apparently been secretly meeting with his team to plot a 2024 run. So status quo 2024. We'll get into that. So it seems that he's running if health allows. And Elon Musk is, I guess, openly on Twitter negotiating how you could get a blue badge. He started at $20 a month to be verified. Now he's negotiating live on Twitter, maybe $8 a month to get a blue badge and some other privileges. So we'll get into Elon and also the fact that Tesla is laying off workers after they have seizures and then stiffing them on paid sick leave. I did an interview with a Tesla worker. So smash that like button, share this live stream. I'll be reminding you throughout the stream, 7 o'clock Eastern is our members call. So in about less than 2 hours, we'll have our monthly members call. So if you're not a Status Coup member, please sign up, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for $5 to $10 a month. It makes a big, big difference. And one of the perks is our monthly Zoom calls for members. So I'll bring that up a little bit later. Steve, isn't it all theater at this point? Republicans running ads on crime and inflation, but they're not going to do anything about either. Biden came out yesterday, kind of carrying a big stick against oil companies, teasing a windfall tax that is never going to pass, and frankly, doesn't address the root problem that we don't have any actual penalties for corporations in this country who are criminally price gouging. I just feel like we're going through the motions of these elections, but the actual structural issues, neither party is going to address whatsoever.
Not at all. Not at all, man. I mean, not at all. Everything that is going on right now is definitely past the point of theater, even. I liken much of what we're going to talk about today, like somebody going back to like the 1300s when they bled the patient. You know what I mean? When they wore masks with big noses and smelling stuff to get over past the dead bodies, that kind of stuff. And they're taking that kind of nonsense. Let's get leeches. And they're using this because it's in the book. If it's in the book, it must be true. If it's in the book, it's got to be true. And so neoclassical economics says that in order for us to stop inflation, we must raise interest rates. Liar. We must lay off 1 million people to bring it down. Liar. Right? Each of these things is a lie, bold-faced lie, but it's in the book. So they got to do it. And that's the way they're playing it.
Let's get into the Washington Post. This is their editorial board who penned this. So this is, the high command of the Washington Post, one of the nation's biggest papers. Opinion: to beat inflation, the Fed might have to trigger a recession. This is kind of, the elites telling the Fed, who read the paper, keep going. Keep the pain going. It won't affect us whatsoever. The Federal Reserve's Open Market Committee will conclude its November meeting on Wednesday, and all signs are that the nation's monetary policy chiefs will raise interest rates by another 0.75 percentage points, the fourth consecutive 3/4 point hike. In other words, the Fed is set to press the brakes even harder on an economy that experts warn might soon enter a recession. A recession would be unwelcome, but high inflation is a greater threat, and it also is already here. Core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, clocked in at 6.6% annual rate in September, Real wages are declining because price increases are swamping gains in the size of paychecks. Rising prices for food, housing, cars, clothes, and other basic goods hit everyone, but they punish low-income people the hardest. In poll after poll, voters say inflation is one of their top concerns. Yeah, the editorial board is so concerned about low-income people that they're saying, let's lay them off, because that's exactly what this op-ed suggests. The Washington Post editorial board says, the Fed is right to be assertive. Its control over monetary policy makes the central bank the most capable inflation fighter. Raising rates cools the economy by making investment more expensive, which in turn broadly drives down demand, bringing it in line with the economy's capacity to meet it. Strong Fed action also signals resolve to fight inflation, persuading people not to assume and make their spending decisions around higher prices in the future. If such expectations took hold, the economy would risk entering a 1970s-style inflationary spiral in which consumers buy more now in anticipation of higher prices later, fueling those very those very high prices. And the price of inflation, real wages are falling. Yes, they've been falling for the last 40 years. But make no mistake, there will be pain. One effective rate hikes is to raise consumer borrowing, costs for car loans, credit cards, and mortgages. 30-year fixed mortgage rates hit 7% last week and promise to rise higher. Moreover, it is hard for the Fed to know exactly when to stop slamming on the brakes because it takes time for the effects of interest rate rises to be felt across the economy. So there is a risk the Fed raises rates more than it has to. So I'm not going to read anymore, but a quick Control F. I'm going to do price gouging. Yes, not mentioned in this op-ed. So that's the Washington Post telling the Fed onward. Keep raising interest rates. They didn't say lay people off, but that's exactly what's going to happen.
That's it.
And I also want to point out this one for the New York Times, maybe giggle a little bit. Food prices soar, and so do companies' profits. Some companies and restaurants have continued to raise prices on consumers even after their own inflation-related costs have been covered. Is that a twisted way of saying they're price gouging without actually saying they're price gouging? It's like
pretty much.
It's like we can't even mention the term. If you were a corporate media outlet, I don't know if you're not allowed to. You can't mention. It would be like the house is on fire, and you say the house is falling down because, I don't know. The house is on fire, but it's actually falling down because of a structural deficit. I mean, they're ignoring what's actually driving this. And
lead the patient.
Yes. And basically saying, hey, we're the elite. We're the Washington Post. We're the editorial board. Yeah, it's not ideal to have a recession, but it's better than high prices without any mention whatsoever on what's driving those high prices.
Can I be blunt?
Yes.
Okay. When people get laid off, do the research. Go out there and look. See if I'm right. When people are unemployed, suicide rates go through the roof. Okay. When people don't have the money to get health care taken care of, people die. They choose not to get their health treated. Over and over and over again, they have shown that this is austerity, that people don't use this word. I wish you'd normalize using the word austerity. This is murder. And I want you to understand, this is Joe Biden's administration. This is the Democrats' plan. Raise interest rates, lay people off, kill the economy, because there's only one way we can do this. Milton Friedman's plan of the 1970s with Paul Volcker jacking interest rates up through the hill. The only way they know how is to kill the economy, to kill it dead. Because most people only talk about gun shootings as murder in a very myopic way. They do not understand that without understanding economics, people die. Dead, not kind of dead. And because it's not sexy, a lot of people don't cover it. So most people don't have a clue. And when they read this stuff, they go, well, naturally, we've got to share in this joint pain together, because otherwise, how else would we stop the rich from raising prices? And when you go to raise interest rates, someone's spending, I'm spending $10 today. You jack the interest rate up, I'm spending 15 tomorrow. That's going somewhere. I'm paying that money to someone. And when I pay that money to someone, it's more than likely not a poor person. It's more than likely a rich person that already has money. So now, during this period of time, not only are regular people paying through the nose to keep the economy afloat, but the people that they're intending to lay off by doing the interest rate hikes, instead of boosting production to meet demand, instead of capping prices, instead of going after price gouging, instead of going after antitrust, instead of doing their fucking job, they know that the lemmings of the American people will simply go, oh, well, what do you expect Biden to do? What do you want Biden to do? He just got all these Republicans. And because of that perversion, they know they got us. And if I told you, started off, people are going to die from this. That is murder. They know it's going to happen. They're doing it anyway. So it's not only just murder, it's premeditated murder.
Come on, man.
And the sad part is the massive amount of folks do not understand this. And so they just go back to, but what about Trump? Whatever will we do? Biden's one of us. We mustn't say mean things about the Democrats. Blue waves as people die. This is no joke. If you can't divorce yourself of your party allegiance and just recognize that this right here is about to kill people, there's nobody in the streets over this. There's no organizing. And when you try to get people to organize, they just go off and somewhere else. It's gone. Do something else. This is ground zero, and it will continue to be ground zero the next time they do it. And people won't unite to fight back against this. I don't know if it's too hard to understand. I don't know if it's because it doesn't have a gun. They can't get excited about the murder. I don't know what it is, but this is what they're doing. And they know full well that we won't fight back. They know it. And that you can tell by the way that op-ed was written, that they know that you'll sit there and fellatio this bullshit news because you don't know any better. I'm telling you right now, they don't have to raise interest rates. That's a bunch of bullshit. Price cap those son of a bitches, break up the monopolies, and go after the price gougers, period. Subsidize whatever they need to. Do not let those cost hikes hit we the people. But will they do that? No. Why is that? Because when I tell you Joe Biden is a neoliberal, and I tell you his administration is neoliberal, and I tell you the people they put into the Federal Reserve are neoliberal, and I tell you the people at the Treasury are neoliberal, and I tell you this, but the word neoliberal doesn't mean anything to you. It's privatization. It's austerity. It's all the worst things, real worse things, way worse than bad tweets. Fucking way worse, deadly, okay? Real life class war turned violent war through economics. If you say it's tough and it's going to kill people in a foreign country when we do sanctions, then you should know this is a sanction on the American people. And let me tell you how bad it gets. It's not just on the American people. We're ground zero where the interest rates hit, but the ripple effects to the rest of the world, who is tightly tied to the U.S. economy, millions more around the world will be impacted and are already being impacted today. Now, if you think I'm making this shit up, that's cool. Keep reading the Washington Post. Believe it with all your heart. Snuggle up to a Biden moment. Get a stuffed animal. I don't care. The fact is, people are going to die for that level of bullshit that they're pulling on us, and we must be smarter than that. We must be smart. Interest rate hikes are simply a pass-through. My spending is their income. It increases their wealth. It does not stave off inflation. It just makes my life more difficult. It makes me have to make really tough choices on getting dental work done as opposed to getting heart surgery or blood work or something else. I'm here to tell you that if you don't see this as murder, you are missing the plot. You're missing the plot. And Jordan, this right here is what they're doing. And they're going to get away with it until people start realizing the only school of economics that understands what's happening here is modern monetary theory. The rest of these new Keynesians out there, the people that you hear, Paul Krugman, Larry Summers, all these other shitheads, Jason Furman, you name it, they're all bad people. They're not just ideologically different. Oh, they just have a difference of opinion. They are bad people. They are murderers. Do you understand? Murderers. And if you could start normalizing the idea that economic warfare is murder, you'll treat this subject way differently than you do today. But until you stop thinking the only way people can die is via a gun, and you start realizing that these interest rate hikes, intentional layoffs, these things have a ripple effect around the world that kill so many people, especially abroad, please know that this is real. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jordan, go for it.
No. It's great. And everybody smash the like button. We got almost 200 watching. Need everyone to press that like button. I want to pull back up the New York Times headline because I think it's so important. Food prices soar and so do company profits. Some companies and restaurants have continued to raise prices on consumers even after their own inflation-related costs have been covered. So to me, the media would certainly cover a bank robbery and a high speed car chase after a physical bank robbery, right? Because it's action, conflict, thriller,
exciting, titillating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, what the New York Times is describing there, and there's been similar reports that the prices that the oil companies, the grocery stores, electricity are charging are not even close to what they're paying on their end. That is theft. I mean, there's no other word for it. They are exploiting average people. They are stealing. That's why Exxon had $19 billion profits this last quarter. But all the coverage is just, in the horse race, people say inflation is the biggest deal to them in the polls. And, who's up, who's down, what's the polling average in the swing states? I understand that the corporate media exists to cover this stuff up, but this is even such a gaping, blinking red lights that this inflation has nothing to do with just, maybe peripherally Ukraine and Russia, but the supply chain and the normalization of corporate seizure of our government. That's what this is. Biden and the Democrats made a lot of hay after the Inflation Reduction Act. Is we took it to the special interests in lowering prescription drug costs. I hate to be a broken record, but he did no such thing. I mean,
no.
Biden months ago could have said, we're gonna have a bill in the House on windfall tax profits because these oil companies are price gouging people immorally, leading to the exact things you're talking about. And once it passes the House, it'll be in the Senate, and let the Republicans explain while they're voting against a tax on oil companies that are price gouging in an election year. Would have been good politics, whether the Democrats meant it or not. But as we talk about all the time, he was not going to do that because they were begging for Wall Street money to fund their campaigns, and Wall Street's the biggest investor in the fossil fuel industry, period. So it kind of only adds to the theater that even when something is so obvious that this inflation, let's say 55, 60%, is just corporations making up the numbers as they go, it's not even covered. It's barely mentioned. It's like in a sub-headline, but not called what it is, price gouging. And that goes to perpetuate this. And the local news then doesn't cover it because the national news is ignoring it. And kind of like, it's like those WWF wrestling punches, like the guy getting punched puts his hands in front of him and it looks like a punch. That's what this is. It's absurd. And then you have, let's play the clip from yesterday, Colin, Biden kind of talking tough on the oil companies.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine in March set gas prices soaring literally around the world, not just here, but around the world. And because of the action we've taken since then, gas prices have actually come down going into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve here at home in America. They're down more than $1.20 since their peak this summer. and they've been falling for the best part of the last 3 weeks. In June, the average price, not the most common price, but the average price nationwide was over $5 a gallon. Today, the average price for a gallon of gas is $3.76. That's adding up to real savings for American families, the difference between those prices. And this difference makes a difference in a difficult time. Americans across the country have stepped up to do the right thing. But not everyone stepped up. The oil industry has not met its commitment to invest in America and support the American people. One by one, major oil companies have reported record profits, not just a fair return for hard work. Every company is entitled to that, a fair return for the work they do or innovation they generate. But I mean profits so high it's hard to believe. Now, the second quarter, the profits were really high, but the third quarter, last week, Shell announced that it made $9.5 billion in profits for the third quarter. $9.5 billion. That's almost twice as much as it made in the third quarter of last year. I think that's something. You think that's incredible? I thought, that's as good as high as it's going to get. Then along came Exxon. Exxon's profits for the third quarter were $18.7 billion. One quarter, $18.7 billion. Nearly triple what Exxon made last year. And the most in its 152-year history. It's never made that much profit.
So what are you going to do about it? Nothing. A windfall tax, which isn't going to pass the Congress. You won't fight to remove the filibuster. But forget the tax. There are things you could do about it, or at least pretend to fight against these oil companies. We've already talked about the money we give in annual subsidies, $15 billion. Could have pulled that, or at least threatened to pull it. The only Democrat that I even see even mentioning price gouging on the campaign trail and prominently is John Fetterman, who obviously is recovering from a stroke. Most of the other Democrats are barely even mentioning inflation. He wrote a piece on FoxNews.com, Fetterman, talking about price gouging and what Democrats need to do about it. It's just, it's beyond me. I don't really think this inflation is going to get much better because it's not natural inflation. It's just price gouging. And these companies see they're going to get away with it.
There is literally no reason to talk about whatever could we do, right? This is ideological. If you've got a neoliberal in office, I can't even, it's not even something I want to say. I have to say, it's the real deal. If you've got a neoliberal up there, they believe fundamentally in laissez-faire, period. Biden is king of this. He's the senator from MBNA. This is who he is. Every time we talk about it, this will be what comes up. Every time. Every single time Joe Biden will do this. And this is what Hillary would do. This is what all of them would do. And some asshole will probably assume I'm saying, well, vote Republican. That's not what I'm saying at all. God knows. I'm not even worried about it. We need our population. We need our people to understand what they're doing. Fundamentally understand. And they don't. I mean, it's almost as if it's too boring for them to stay tuned in. I could drop 1,000 F-bombs to try and spice it up, and they'll still not get it. It's because the programming's so intense from the powers that be, and it's been there for so long. I mean, I'm out there watching important names, people that have huge followings that dwarf ours, that know full well the MMT story and understand what's happening. And they still go out there and say, they're sending our tax dollars to Ukraine. And literally, as long as people keep the lie up, as long as they keep saying this stupid shit, no one's going to wake up. And people are going to keep dying. And I'm supposed to be like, hey, don't be mad. Don't be angry. Say it sweetly. Be gentle. I don't want to see any more people die. I'd rather your ego be bruised to the point of broken, but not dead. The alternative is death. I mean, my tagline on Twitter is not like some funny pun. Unfortunately, I lack that gene. My Twitter handle is austerity is murder for a reason. I hope people will wake up to this because we got to fight back. We keep talking about organizing with unions, organizing people in the streets, doing this, doing that. There's no energy at all. And when you try and talk about this stuff and explain it to people, they're gone. They're already off watching, reading up about how, what's his name? Geralt from The Witcher has been replaced. It's no longer, what's his name? Superman. It's now one of the, other dudes from Australia, whatever. Point is that they're not paying attention to this. And in order for us to make change, absent of us literally standing in front of Congress, standing in front of the Treasury, standing in front of the Fed, standing out there in front of Wall Street itself, short of doing that and meaning it and blocking traffic and really becoming ungovernable, they're going to keep doing it over and over and over again. Nothing will change. Tomorrow's broadcast will be the same as today's. The next week will be the same as today's. Next year will be the same as today's. It will be the same answers. It will be the same conversation because this is what they're doing and we're not fighting back.
Right.
That's it.
And I also think, practically speaking, if you're watching, and I mean, I think inflation is really hurting everybody. I mean, it's I don't know if it's going to get worse, but it's certainly not going to get better. With it seems Republicans are going to take the House, possibly the Senate. We're going to have just kind of a year and a half of impeachment hearings, investigations into God knows what. Hunter Biden, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, drag queens, whatever the Republicans want to investigate. But Biden will still be the president, but Republicans will either be able to kind of slow things down if they have control of one house, or if they have control of the Senate and the House. They're not going to do anything to the oil companies. They're not going to do anything to the grocery stores, the electric companies, most of which have monopoly power. They're certainly not going to talk about antitrust legislation. I mean, the Democratic Party has kind of winked and nodded at it. Amy Klobuchar, I think, proposed something, but none of it's going to go anywhere. So it's kind of like, this is not about, who you should vote for, do what you want. But I don't see, since the media is basically burying the fact that this is not actually, traditional inflation, this is just corporate brutality and corporate theft. So that just gets buried. It's the new normal that they could just keep raising their prices, not based on market forces, but based on rigging the market like they did in 2008 and 2009. And a lot of people are going to feel pain because Biden, the one thing he promised when he ran for office, did not raise the minimum wage. So you're going to have inflation continuing to go up while the minimum wage remains $7.25. And I think something else you said, I mean, I'm not trying to depress people, but we're always going to be honest with you. I mean, you could just feel it. The left is a deflated balloon. I mean, other than the things we talk about, which is the unions, the union drives, which obviously there's been victories and defeats, worker strikes. I tweeted today, it's looking like there possibly might be a railroad strike around Thanksgiving, which could be huge, especially for the economy in a negative way, but good for the workers. Tenants unions, I mean, other than that. But on the left, it's so fractured for a lot of reasons that we've spoken about over and over again, and tribal, that people have just become despondent. People have just kind of checked out because they feel nothing can be done. We don't have any leadership politically right now. Bernie, the squad are going around trying to help the Democratic Party keep the House and Senate. So it's really, I will not dress it up. It's grim times. And when you see this kind of junk from the Washington Post, New York Times, the cable news channels who cover the midterms like it's sports, but don't actually mention what's behind inflation. I hope something gives, Steve, but I fear it won't. Your last thoughts on this before we move on.
No, I'm going to go out there, I don't know, tomorrow at noon. I'm going to rail about it. I'm going to paint soliloquies and analogies about it. And I'm going to do the same thing on Friday. And we'll have a podcast Saturday, and that and a bag of chips will get you a bag of chips. I mean, people have to take it seriously. I mean, nobody wants to be told they're not doing enough, But the fact is that we can't wait for yelling at Biden isn't changing anything. Yelling at Kamala Harris isn't changing anything. Waiting for Pete Buttigieg to say so isn't changing anything. If we don't do it, we are who we're looking for. And so if we're unwilling to be serious, if we're going to be nihilistic and check out, and when I say check out, I'm not talking about whether you voted or not. I'm talking about as an activist. I'm talking about as a human being, looking at your family and saying, kids, wife, husband, I just didn't much see the point in getting involved in economic discussions, even though that's the weapon they've chosen to kill us with. It just didn't seem very exciting and titillating. So you'll forgive me that I allowed you to die, because I just didn't find it very interesting. It was just sort of my thing to let us die. And that's what I think people have to come to grips with, is even though that's not what they're saying, that is what they're saying by default. By default, they're looking at their children and saying, just don't care if your future's okay, because I'm going to skip the economics because I got it like that. I can. What's on Netflix? And that's it. And that's it.
And by the way, I left this out. Lawrence Summers, if we could show this, Colin. Lawrence Summers had something to say about Biden's tepid call for a windfall tax. I'm not sure. Hold on. I'm not sure. I guess he said, I'm not sure I understand the argument for a windfall profits tax on energy companies. If you reduce profitability, you would discourage investment, which is the opposite of our objective. Let me repeat, Colin, if you have that tweet, it's under what Warren Gunnels tweeted. I'm not sure I understand the argument for a windfall profits tax on energy companies. If you reduce profitability, you will discourage investment, which is the opposite of our objective. Yes, discourage investment, because they're doing so much investment now, not adding to supply, not providing more supply of oil, not doing more. So pity the billionaire, pity the oil companies. And Warren Gunnels, who's Bernie's policy guy, he responded, "Oh, it's really complicated, Larry. Reducing windfall profits doesn't discourage investment. It discourages price gouging and stock manipulation. Exxon, Chevron, Shell, and Total are spending nearly $100 billion of their record profits this year on stock buybacks and dividends." Another thing that Biden and the Democratic Party could try and pass legislation to restrict, but they're not going to do. I don't know. Your thoughts on Larry Summers?
Well, let's be fair. If we're talking about investing in Beanie Babies or something like that, that's speculative, then yeah, you're not going to make it. But who in the world is going to walk away from, let's say hypothetically, we know that under good times we'll make $1 billion if we set up a new well to drill somewhere, or whatever it is that within their business makeup that they would do. And suddenly they say, well, we've done a windfall tax, so now you're only going to make 800 billion, not 1 trillion or whatever it is. Oh God, 800 billion is just not enough profit for me. We're going to not invest. Like hell. I mean, it's ridiculous. Hey, they only would pay me $100 an hour. They wouldn't pay me 105. I don't get out of bed for less than $100 an hour. I mean, that's the kind of ridiculousness that this is. So I'm sorry, but this is more standard fare neoliberals acting like they're the only grown-ups in the room, telling us about investment and telling us about risk and telling us these things are just, we mustn't dampen the market. We mustn't bother with the market. Folks, markets are a creature of government. It's not the other way around. No, commerce didn't spring out of barter. Sorry, myth tellers. This is 100% a state theory of money. Sorry, Friedrich Knapp. This right here is state money deal. State creates the market. The state sets the rules. The state set the regulation. The state sets the freaking profit motive by the tax level it puts on it. The state has maximum control. The state could kill the entire industry if it wanted to, or it could completely send it in fuego. It could do whatever it wants to do, but it doesn't do that. Why? Because there's this ideological hands-off, do your thing mindset. And until we accept that that's what this administration and the next administration will do, while we go ahead and blame vote blue, vote red, vote blue, vote red, this is what's going to happen over and over and over again. Period. Until we fight back and make it not happen again, It's going to keep happening. Larry Summers is parroting the normal neoliberal line. This is exactly what every other neoliberal economist will say. It's crowding out investment. Spending government money crowds out investment, crowds out business, crowds out opportunity. No, when government spends, ask Boeing, ask all of those guys, Halliburton, you name it. Hey, do you guys want the government to stop spending? Oh my God, their business would dry up in a minute. Their entire funding model comes from the effing federal government. Period. It's
including Twitter's chief twit, Elon Musk, who can thank the government for ever starting Tesla. We'll get to Elon Musk in a little bit. Reminder, smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. Comment, super chats are welcome. If you came to this late, in about an hour and a half will be our monthly members call. So if you're a Status Coup member, you will get the email. You'll get the email with our Zoom link for the monthly members call starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Always a lot of fun. We'll go an hour or two tonight. Take your questions, comments, concerns, tears, screams, whatever you want. We'll be talking through Zoom. Status Coup members at 7 o'clock Eastern time. That applies to patrons also. If you're a Status Coup YouTube member, Colin, what's the deal with YouTube members?
So YouTube members, just keep an eye on your YouTube feed, how you usually see YouTube posts from your creators. We're going to do one that only members can see, and that'll have a link to essentially a web page version of the email that we are going to send all the members.
Yeah, as YouTube members, we don't have access to your email, so you'll see a post in the community tab close to 7 o'clock Eastern for the members call. So it seems that all the speculation on if Biden's going to run or not, which is a good segue since we were just talking about the deflated progressive movement. Biden and his team have been quietly meeting since September, preparing his 2024 campaign. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden have been meeting since September with senior advisors at the White House residence to prepare a potential 2024 reelection campaign, according to multiple people familiar with the planning. The meetings of what advisors describe as a, quote, very small group come as the Democratic National Committee has been making plans to respond on Biden's behalf to former President Donald Trump or other potential presidential contenders who could announce campaigns in the coming months. The National Party is also drafting plans to re-engage with grassroots supporters from the 2020 campaign who are not involved in the Democratic midterm effort, the people said. Biden, who would turn 86 before the end of the second term, has not yet made a final decision, his advisors say, but he has indicated publicly and privately he intends to run. He's also suggested he will be more eager to run if Trump gets into the race, as the former president has repeatedly suggested he will. Oh, God. Top White House advisors Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, and Jen O'Malley Dillon, who played senior roles in Biden's 2020 campaign, have been involved in the planning discussion with Biden, as has his chief of staff, Ron Klain. That whole list is a murderer's row of Bill Clinton and Obama alumni who are Biden aides. Anita Dunn is the worst of the worst. While Biden's advisors have been focused on the midterms, Dunn and O'Malley Dillon have spoken with veterans of the past two Democratic presidential reelection campaigns, including Obama's campaign manager, David Plouffe, and Jim Messina, and two veterans of Bill Clinton's administration, Bruce Reed and Steve Ricchetti. So, Steve, I think this is setting up to be Biden versus Trump again, unless I think Trump is going to be prosecuted. We've talked about that a bunch. Conviction, who knows? The whole thing could be delayed. You might not even see a trial until after, the presidential election. But I think it seems Biden's going to run again, which then really proposes a question for the left. Does the left try to put forward a progressive challenger? Who do we consider actually progressive that would be different? Would that person actually be competitive? Right now, to me, of course, winning is important, but is maybe a little less important than winning. It would be very difficult to defeat an incumbent president in a primary. It's never happened before. I just think the left needs to be re-energized. I think we need to get somebody, not put all our stock in one person, because again, you and I have talked over and over again. We got to focus on outside electoral politics. But I do think the left needs someone to put up a fight against kind of the Empire Strikes Back neoliberal edition. Because what we have here is the potential of 8 more years. Because if Biden runs for re-election and wins again, then it's going to be the baton being passed off to Harris in 2028 to succeed him, or 8 more years of a Republican. I think progressives need to put up a fight, even if it's not likely to win. I think we need somebody who could get us back to that 2016 energy. That doesn't mean take your eye off the ball of these union drives, worker strikes, try and organize some economic actions. But what do you think? Because it seems to me he's going to run again. I think it's going to be against Trump because I think DeSantis is overblown. I think Trump will wipe the floor with him. Do you want to see a primary against Biden? If so, what does that look like?
Well, I'm just hearkening back to John Fetterman's debate with Oz and him stuttering on the thing. Now, mind you, his was a issue with having a stroke and recovering from it. Biden is there too. I don't know that he's had a stroke, but can you imagine Joe Biden in this state listening to his press conference? You can almost see him. Oh, okay. Over here. Can you imagine him on stage against Donald Trump, ready to just embarrass the shit out of him? I mean, whether you like Trump or not is not even the point. The point is Biden's mental faculties are pathetic. He can't even do a teleprompter-based press conference without looking like he's had 7 drinks. I mean, it's pathetic how bad he is, okay? I don't put a lot of stock in this stuff, though. I really don't, because think about everybody that put Biden in office. I mean, most of the people in the audience probably voted for Joe Biden. What influence have you had over Joe Biden or the Democratic Party? Have you seen anything that you think is important handled by this president or his cabinet or this Congress? And if you can say yes, I'm very concerned about you. They haven't done anything. So the idea of propping someone else up there, it'd be great to have somebody at least keep the left alive so that our issues are taken, because that's one thing about elections that is good. You at least have an opportunity to get out there and say things, talk about things. Unfortunately, you look at how many people just go after the headline people like Elizabeth Warren. Can you imagine Elizabeth Warren is busy telling everybody that we will sell green energy to fund the Green New Deal? I'm not joking. Green imperialism a la Elizabeth Warren. And people say, let's have Elizabeth Warren. She'll be great.
Spell that out for people that don't understand what you mean. What do you mean sell green imperialism?
So in other words, she wants to be able to export energy sales, green energy sales, being, electric, wind, whatever. She's thinking that she'll be able to fund the federal government through selling green energy abroad. This is her kind of end game, because she doesn't understand economics. And sadly, you can tell people that like her don't either. Okay. And as a result of that ignorance, someone like her would just run us off a cliff. With all due respect, it's the same thing. She might be more energetic. She might get some people excited because, hey, we've got a woman president, or hey, we've got somebody that's not, doesn't sound like they're drinking toilet water every day. I mean, maybe, but that's a very, very low bar. That's terrible. She's awful. Okay. Bernie, he's not going to be a spring chicken either. He's going to be right up in that 86-year-old category should he go after this, right? So from a real perspective here, we don't have a bench. There is no progressives waiting in the wings. You have to go outside of the political class, and maybe someone like a Stephanie Kelton would be a good person to put up there. Maybe someone like a Sarah Nelson. My only problem is, as much as I like both of them, they both play way too nice with the establishment, for my take, as politics go. So within that space, they're the best two. I would put those two women at the top of my ticket, Sarah Nelson and Stephanie Kelton. They still, in my opinion, are still too friendly with the establishment, but damn it, they're warriors and they understand the way economics works. And they're good. Sarah Nelson in particular, fantastic at organizing people. You would have a real organizer. And I would love to see her as vice president, Kelton as president, or vice versa. I don't care which. Probably it doesn't make a difference. They both understand MMT and they're both fucking sharp as a tack. Just a little too cozy with the establishment for my liking.
I think that, to me, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It hasn't been done where somebody is defeated an incumbent president in a primary. I mean, Ted Kennedy, they say, maybe damaged Jimmy Carter. I think Carter would have lost to Reagan anyway in 1980. But to me, the biggest thing is you can't lose a whole generation of progressives who were activated in 2016 and 2020 and just lose them into the ether to kind of just check out. And that's what's happening. So to me, it's less, not that it's not important. Obviously, if I'm covering a primary campaign, I want to cover somebody who might have a chance to win. I do think you're right as far as Biden. I mean, the media ignores it, but without COVID as much of an excuse, he would have to actually campaign. He would be, and I don't think inflation's going to get much better in a year and a half. So he'd still have to defend his numbers. I think we need somebody who's ready to go total kamikaze style, whether, not overly concerned if they win or not overly concerned if it will damage their political future, and just run a scorched earth campaign calling out corruption. I don't know if that person exists. Nobody in the squad would do that. I think Marianne Williamson's very nice, but I don't know if she has that tone. I also don't. I mean, maybe Nina Turner, but obviously she's lost twice for Congress. Go ahead.
Let's bring some spice in here real quickly. We got some knucklehead. You don't like my music. He just promoted a couple names that for a leader, and he doesn't know his ass from his elbow, and blah blah blah. And he's going through this whole thing. It's important. Let's talk for just a second who Sarah Nelson is. Sarah Nelson was on the transition team that worked with the Biden administration. She is the head of the airline union. She is a big freaking person. If that person doesn't know who Sarah Nelson is, it's called get out from under the fucking rock you're living under. Okay. Yeah. And Stephanie Kelton was Bernie Sanders' economic advisor, not only during his run as the budget committee chair, but also in part one of his run for president and part two for his run for president. And she's one of the leading fellows at the Sanders Institute. If you don't know who she is, get out from under the rock you're under. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you right now, both of them are charismatic. Both of them are very photogenic, and both of them are very, very sharp and well-spoken and could eviscerate a lie. I can see Sarah Nelson just whipping. I mean, there's this one person that's on Twitter and
authentic, by the way.
Absolutely. So in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, but those who are aware, one of the beautiful things about them, maybe not being as well known as Hillary Clinton or well known as Elizabeth Warren, okay, is that they would also be able to come in like a starting quarterback that no one has any tape on and run roughshod over them, because quite frankly, their message and they're photogenic, folks. And I hate to say this, but when it comes down to it, you got to be able to look the part. You got to be able to talk the part, and you got to be able to walk the part, and they can do all three. So that's where I put my money. Will they do it? No, unfortunately they won't. But I think you'll see them someday. I believe secretively or not so. I think that there's goals, political goals for both of them that would possibly lead to something like a presidential run at some point, or at least a run for Congress or Senate. I really believe that.
The bottom line is we just need somebody that could fucking lift people out of the doldrums, not just lift people out of the doldrums in terms of rallying around their campaign, but reactivating people to get involved with everything else that's going on that's good. Meaning,
what could you do more than a union leader?
The union drives, the worker strikes, the tenants unions, actually empowering people to create their own organizing hubs in their communities, actually running campaigns that could actually get some media attention by calling them both out, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, for corruption. To me, that was one of Bernie's biggest mistakes. the one time that his campaign called out Biden as corrupt, Zephyr Teachout wrote an op-ed, I think it was in The Guardian, calling Biden corrupt. Bernie made them retract it right away. So we need somebody. And again, I want to be careful because we don't want you to think that, oh, we need to get re-engaged and the only way to lift us out of the doldrums is electoral politics. No, but I mean, we're humans. People need somebody to, people need inspiration from somewhere. People need leaders who are going to tell it like it is, leaders who are going to stand with the workers that are actually fighting the fight right now, and leaders that actually will call this corrupt country what it is. And I think Sarah Nelson in particular is one name that is very interesting. I just want to see a fight against Biden because I can't stomach to cover Biden versus Trump with no real primary fight against him. It's just theater, and it's just cementing whoever it is 4 to 8 more years of theater where we're facing debt ceiling standoffs, where we're facing, we're fighting fascism. This isn't. The truth is, yeah, we are fighting fascism. That's going to be the Democratic Party's message. If they lose the House and Senate, or if they just lose the House, reelect Biden, because if not, fascism. But they have helped accelerate the fascism by providing no alternative. So, yeah, I hope we have a primary challenge. I don't have any inside info, but I hope it's somebody. Even Jon Stewart. I don't agree with everything of Jon Stewart, but he's refreshing the way he talks. He's not. It doesn't seem he's worried about his future. When he does interviews, he's better than any journalist in the corporate media. He has really undressed, politically speaking, some of these idiots that he interviews, pointing out their corruption. He is. I think he's done great work for the 9/11 first responders, who the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have tried to continually bilk out of the benefits they're owed. So I would take a Jon Stewart. I would consider anyone at this point. All cards on the table. All right, moving on. Elon Musk. And as a reminder, folks, we're now about an hour away from the members call. So last call, you got to sign up as a member before 7 o'clock Eastern to get the link to our members call through Zoom. It's through Zoom. You don't have to be on camera. You could just, mute your video and just listen if you want. But it's going to be a good time. 7 o'clock Eastern will be the members call. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. So Steve, Elon Musk officially took over Twitter. Since then, he's been tweeting like a drunk 16-year-old. He's been like kind of live negotiating what the price will be for Twitter verification. So for those that don't know, it's kind of, I guess, a status symbol to have a blue check next to your name. I've had a blue check next to my name for years, but I'm still basically might as well be shadow banned on Twitter. Right. But now Elon Musk wants to charge for the blue check, and he's saying there will be some other perks with it, I guess, because I think he's realizing, oh shit, I was kind of LOLing this whole time that I was going to buy Twitter, but then I actually had to buy it because I made an offer, and now there's no actual business model to make money here. So Colin, let's show Musk tweeted about the current lords and peasants system. So you got to love the world's richest person tweeting about the peasants. Twitter's current lords and peasants system for who has or doesn't have a blue check mark is bullshit. Power to the people. Blue for $8 a month, he says. And by the way, the $8 a month, Steve, is down from the reported $20 a month he was floating. And this came because Stephen King, the author, basically tweeted like, I'm out. I'm not paying $20 a month. And then Elon responded, what about $8? So he's literally like live negotiating. It's kind of absurd. But Elon says price adjusted by country, proportionate to purchasing power parity. You will also get priority in replies, mentions, and search, which is essential to defeat spam and scam. Ability to post long video and audio, half as many ads. So, Steve, I think this is important because right here, he's openly saying we're going to rig the algorithm for you if you have a blue check. So you'll get priority in search. So at least they're admitting that they pick winners and losers, because I've been saying for years, I mean, Google, which owns YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they have been rigging their algorithms. This is an information war we're fighting. Status Coup has 125,000. What do we have? 128,000 subscribers. I mean, we're lucky if we get over 300 live viewers at any given time. Whereas channels with far less subscribers than us get more views than us because we're suppressed and they're not suppressed yet. So yeah, I mean, he's basically saying pay to play. If you, what maybe he'll settle at $10 a month. He'll add like sticker, like YouTube gives you little stickers, emojis and shit. But he's saying we'll give you preference in search, which means your stuff will pop up more prominently. Yeah, I think this is pretty bad. Twitter is already a cesspool. I think it went too far with some of its kind of like, hey, here's a trigger warning. This tweet might be too sensitive for you. We could argue about, whether Trump and others should have been banned or not. But to me, the real censorship is the shadow censorship that's been going on all these platforms, which is their algorithms are stuffing your feed with CNN, MSNBC. A corporate journalist at CNN could just tweet out fart. It's going to be seen more than you or I. And Elon Musk, it seems like he's just tossing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. I want to show this other tweet, which is just rank stupidity. But this is him tweeting all for $8. Yes. Him in I'm not good with I'm not good with super. Is that like a superhero costume? I don't even know.
It's a Warhammer, I think someone said, which is a board game or figures.
Gotcha.
Is that Warhammer 40,000, huh?
That's what I heard.
So I just want people to know, while the media is, obviously responding to Elon's machinations on Twitter and kind of like the live experimentation with what it's going to become, Tesla, his company where he has exploited his workers, horrible working conditions at Tesla factories, major union buster, Tesla, Elon Musk. I interviewed a Tesla worker who was fired after having grand mal seizures. He was one of the top salesmen in Maryland for Tesla. They fired him after he had seizures. They stiffed him. They wouldn't pay him during his recovery. And they fired him, and he is struggling right now. They basically, his manager told him that they were basically not happy because he was a little slower after his grand mal seizures. Let me play a clip of that interview.
And in June, I arrived to work after a 40-minute drive. I'm still recovering from the whole seizure thing. And my boss asked me to go drive another 30 minutes to another location to support because they're understaffed. And the whole time, through January until now, Tesla has been firing people progressively. And a lot of our team members have left. So we're about 6 people down in the showroom. And they want to focus on deliveries now instead of sales. So you have 2 people sitting in the showroom and you have a ton of customers coming in. And then they want you to go help at delivery. So I arrived in June 16th to work. He asked me to go a far distance to go help there. I'm still recovering from the seizure. I'm not supposed to drive far distances at all. I had a 3-month driving ban after the seizure. And it just elapsed. I'm able to drive again. So I'm still taking it easy. He doesn't like the fact that I don't want to go and help at delivery 30 minutes away after driving 40 minutes. So we have a meeting in the office, and my boss basically tells me that I'm the slow one in the group. The training wheels are coming off. He doesn't understand why I keep leaning on my disability. And all these things just shock me. There was just so much pushback against me coming back to work. And there was so much pushback about me even being at work. I just felt like they didn't want me to be there anymore. And so I'm trying to ask him questions like, why do I feel like there's a personal vendetta against me, even though I'm the top performer? And he says, you're selling 12 cars a week and we're supposed to be focused on deliveries. I have no idea what you're doing. And I tell him that we're understaffed in the mall. There's only 2 people there and people are walking in. He says, shut the doors and ignore the customers and focus on anything else other than customers, even if I tell you so. So I'm like, he says run away from the customers and turn off the lights if need be. I'm just completely confused at this point. I tell him I'm not going to the delivery section center to help him because that's just too far of a drive. I'm still recovering, and he basically asked me to go home after that. And I said, "Am I going to be fired after? Because it sounds like you're going to fire me." And he says, "I'm not going to fire you," and scoffs at it. The next day comes, my manager calls me via Microsoft Teams and HR, and they basically fire me for performance reasons. And everything is recorded. Then my boss calls me after that meeting where I got fired through my cell phone, and he basically explains to me that they can fire me for any reason, not to go the legal route, because Tesla has a building full of lawyers. And, he sympathizes with me, and it's all in the recording. It was just so strange.
Number one, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but corporations basically could do whatever they want in this country. No repercussions. And B, that comes from the top. Elon Musk told Tesla to cut the fat, lay people off. They've been laying people off, and this guy had seizures. I guess he, needed some accommodations. They wouldn't pay paid sick leave for his recovery time, and then fired him. Basically, the manager saying, stop leaning on your disability. This guy is going to clean up Twitter or make Twitter profitable? Yeah. I don't think we're in good shape if this is the guy tasked with making Twitter, A, profitable, but B, a place for the good ideas, a good exchange of ideas.
Every time we give something up because the right wing does something, we give up the word progressive because Hillary and the gang stole it. We give up, platforms because so-and-so, owns it. We give up all these things. And my problem here is that we don't have enough ways of organizing as it stands. I'm not here to just talk to the already converted. I'm hoping that people that don't know anything about the stuff that I talk about hear it for the first time and say, hey, what the hell was that guy talking about? Let me look it up. I'm afraid that if we keep isolating ourselves, giving up words because somebody co-opted it, giving up spaces because some asshole owns it, giving up these, we are going to box ourselves into an echo chamber that algorithms be damned. We won't even have to worry about algorithms. So I'm very mixed on this, right? Obviously, I am I think one of the toughest things for people to realize is little things like freedom of speech. The way the law works. It's not a matter of regular private businesses can't make rules for what they do. It's that the government can't crack down on you for your freedom of speech. And so when you have a free speech type arrangement with a guy like Musk, who is a libertarian and who loves the idea of being able to say the dirty word that you're not allowed to say because of the woke people that don't let you say words or whatever. Okay, yeah, but that's the real world. Stop trying to isolate it and make it not the real world. Sadly, that is the real world. That's how bad it really is. Once you step out of your front door, once you go to the school, go to your local school district and listen to school board meetings and watch these people come in there full of Jesus and hatred. I mean, it's an amazing dichotomy of insanity. The alienation, the contradictions are absurd. If you go to your local school board or local school meeting, your district meetings, you will be blown away by the kind of insanity. So when you see someone like Elon Musk, who talks out of both sides of his mouth, who's trash, who is absolutely one of the worst type of people that you never want to work for, does everything we don't want. But if you allow him to push you off a platform, because there is no other platforms really, we don't look at MeWe. Think about MeWe for a minute. Oh, we got to go to MeWe. Everybody join me at MeWe. I'm still waiting for me and we to happen. It's bullshit. And so as bad as Twitter might be, it's still better than Facebook. And it still gives us an opportunity, but they do control the algorithm. So to me, I just hate seeing us constantly giving up space. I hate us giving up words. I hate us giving up fights because somebody else now has claimed it. It's the most ridiculous, pathetic approach to freaking war for territory, man. Words are territory. Don't let them go away. Don't give up words. Stop giving away space, man. We don't have enough. And the more isolated we get, the less effective we become. And you know, I know that's kind of mixing things, because on one hand, we're talking about a guy with seizures being laid off or being fired or being, you know, screwed with. And on the other hand, we're talking about Twitter, and now Elon Musk has it, and free speech. So there's a lot of kind of disjointed stories in that segment to, you know, kind of like, there's a lot to cover. But the fact is I think we keep giving up way too much space, way too much. As soon as we hear something we don't like, we're like, oh no, I mean, people out there like high-fiving each other. I dropped my Twitter account, and you can almost see them miss on the high five, like they're uncoordinated, like they just miss. I mean, it's not it. That ain't it. Because every time we give it up, the vacuum is filled by more. And they've got a new place to further expand the right-wing thinking, this libertarian-minded thinking, without a rebuttal. Our job is not to be hearing only things we want to hear. Our job is to hear how the world really is and provide solutions to combat those things. Anyway, that's my stupid idea.
I think at the end of the day, the internet and freedom of speech creates conditions for a cesspool, and there's not much you could do about that cesspool other than seek out, you know, the conversations you want to be part of. I agree. Don't just insulate yourself with stuff you agree with. I think the problem here is if you trust Elon Musk to make Twitter an open space where everybody has a fair shake, you know, he has said that he would make the algorithm open source. Yeah, I'm waiting for that. What he's talking about in his little throw shit at the wall, throw gum at the wall and see what sticks is, if you pay, then you will get preferential treatment in search, which means you're going to get higher rankings. For example, I know my Twitter has been deranked. I spoke with somebody who works in data who said for your following to get this level of retweets, you've been deprioritized in Twitter's algorithm. I have followers who tell me they never see my tweets, who are follow me. So to me, Elon Musk is basically it seems like he's just going to try to make it a subscription service where there will be tiers. And if you are on a higher tier, you'll get higher reach. And how that affects us is it's not organic anymore. So if there is a God and there's ever a general strike, you think that's going to rise to the #1 trending spot organically on Twitter under Elon Musk's? It seems he wants to move it more towards a tier level and subscription service, or like VIPs get certain rankings. Okay, then all of the corporations and all the top journalists are going to pay whatever they have to pay to rise in Twitter's algorithm. So besides him being an idiot and an asshole, he basically is realizing, wow, just having an advertiser model, I'm going to lose a shit ton of money. So I need to find a way to make money. And that is charging people for preferential treatment in the algorithm, essentially. Steve, I know you got to go. Plug your stuff.
Yep. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Catch me at Real Progress in Action, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, by the way, folks. It's The Rogue Scholars, my show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 12 noon Eastern time to usually about 1 o'clock. I go live. And then Saturdays on the Macro and Cheese podcast, which you can find on any one of your favorite podcasts from, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. It's out there. And also you can catch me here on Tuesday nights with Jordan, and sometimes Sundays with Grumble.
After the midterms, we'll be moving it to Tuesday. So
there you go.
Yeah. After the midterms, yes. Let's get ready to grumble. We'll have it right after this show on Tuesdays. So
yeah. So please do follow us. We need the support. We're one of those small channels, and we love Jordan, and we try to promote this stuff as much as we can. We're one of you guys, man. So if you can help us out by coming and subscribing, helping us get our content out there as well. It really, I mean, there's nobody doing what I'm doing. The kind of synthesis of the MMT and the popular kind of conversations and trying to take it from a leftist perspective. I think I'm the only one doing it. Maybe there's somebody else out there. I would like to meet them and say, hi, how are you doing? But for real, I think this is a very important thing. And I hope that you will take my niche and take it seriously and help me get more followers and help us get this message out there. So thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, pal.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
And reminder, folks, in about 45 minutes is our monthly members call. So if you're a Status Coup member, you'll get the link through your email. It's a Zoom call, a lot of fun. Probably go for an hour or so, answer your questions, comments, concerns. So sign up. If you're not a member, you can still sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. It costs money to do this reporting. Right now, we're kind of setting our plans for the midterms next week. We will be on the ground, probably in Pennsylvania. So we don't just come from the studio, but that costs money. Cameramen, equipment, travel. So please support us if you can. Statuscoup.com/join, and we'll see you at 7 o'clock Eastern. If you're a member through our website or Patreon, you'll get the link through your email. If you are a YouTube member, check in our community tab soon, and we'll be posting in our community tab, which is on the homepage of our YouTube. You'll get a link through the community tab to join our call. Look forward to seeing you. I think we only got one super chat, unfortunately. VA from New York, $5. The election that could affect our lives, our local school board, city council, etc. It's a great point. Absolutely a great point. It's not all federal. It's not even all congressional. Local elections make a big deal. Look at what's going on in LA right now with those racist city council members that were caught on tape saying vile things. So definitely, yeah, your local elections are very important. So, obviously it's your choice if you want to vote, but local politics definitely matters. Colin, did I forget anything?
I don't think so. I think you mentioned if you're a YouTube member, just look in the YouTube feed.
Oh, yes.
In about, I would say like 30-ish minutes is when you should look out for the email and the post in the YouTube feed.
And by the way, we are posting shorts now too. So 8 o'clock Eastern, look back to our channel. You're probably not going to get a notification, but we're posting, trying to post shorts every day. Shorts are the 1-minute videos. It kind of helps in the algorithm. So we're hoping we could get more people to the channel if they just stumble on our shorts. Shorts are kind of more passive viewing, like you see them in your feed and it just, you finish one and it brings you to the next. So if you can click on our shorts, we usually post around 8 o'clock Eastern. That really helps. So definitely click on those shorts, not physical shorts, YouTube shorts. Kind of like, yeah, it is similar to TikTok. Michael Cooper asked. All right, I'll see you guys in 45 minutes for the members call. Looking forward to it. Thank you. And we'll see you back here tomorrow too.